What is up everyone, Movie Wayne back again with another end of month vlog. This is just everything I've watched in the month of February 2023, giving my little mini thoughts there. Can't believe we're actually in March already. It seems like New Year's Day was, just a few weeks ago, but time moves fast, doesn't it? Especially when you get older there. So let's just get into it now with the first thing that I watch. All the drill works for these videos, and that is The Firm. Now, I've seen most of the other popular football hooligan movies that have been made, the British ones, and that is Cast, The Football Factory, Green Street, but I've just never actually got round to this one. I think it just looked a little bit silly for me, with the tracksuits and stuff and the whole 80s retro vibe, that it seemed to look like. But Nick Love is the director who really does make the most simplest films, but they always seem to be fun movies, like The Business and stuff, and The Football Factory again. So I don't know why I didn't check this out. I should have just looked past that, because he's the director. I do actually enjoy his movies, all the ones I've seen by him anyway. This was absolutely ridiculous, but in the best possible way. Some of the dialogue in this movie just was so outlandish and just really didn't seem to fit the characters. Like, it was like they were just reading off a script that this madman had wrote down. It was the strangest dialogue I've seen in a movie in quite some time, but I couldn't help myself but enjoy what some of the characters were saying here. It was just that ridiculous. This is basically about a guy called Bexy. It's a remake of The Old Firm. I know most of you know that one with Gary Oldman in. And I didn't realise this was actually the guy who played Arthur in Peaky Blinders until I looked it up at the end of the movie, which was just crazy to me. I've seen that show so many times. And he's basically the big football hooligan, and all the young ones look up to him. It's about this young lad's journey. He wants to get in with the firm, basically, and he looks up to him. But yeah, it's a fun movie. It's a fun football hooligan movie, but it is absolutely outrageous, some of the scenes in this. I couldn't help laugh all the way through it. How silly it was. And I actually think it might have been made to be serious, but it unintentionally came off as so silly. And I just don't know if the movie's dated so quickly in the past 10 years or whatever, but I felt the same with Green Street. I thought some of the acting and stuff in that was just way out of place. So yeah, that is The Firm. It was a fun movie though. I did have a good time with this. Next up, I watched Steven Spielberg's latest movie, The Fablemans. I heard a lot of talk about this because we got a late release here in the UK, and I enjoyed it. Not as much as a lot of other people, I don't think, but I did think it was a solid 7, 8 out of 10 movie. This is basically the movie Steven Spielberg has had in mind all his life to make, I think, because he's based it on his childhood and growing up and wanting to become a movie director, and just doing it in a different character, basically. This young man called, I forgot his first name, but he's part of this family called the Fablemans. And it's basically his journey with his family, the struggles he has with his family, wanting to become a filmmaker, his dad trying to guide him the other way, his mum just, doing her own thing and messing the family up, the way of life that they have. I really did enjoy this film. I did. I thought it was really good, but it was there were some pacing issues in there. There was some life lessons that just didn't really pay off for me. Like, I thought the movie was trying to give me messages on how to be in life, and he weren't quite landing. Michelle Williams, who plays the mother in this Fableman family, was a very unlikable character to me. So it did have its problems, but overall, I loved watching this young man's journey. I loved especially the moments where he was making movies. He was making movies for his high school and stuff because he was just a genius behind the camera. And they were the parts of the movies that I really did like. But it's a mixed bag, but overall, more positives than negatives. I don't think it is the best picture, but we'll wait and see. But that is The Fablemans. Next up, I watched M. Night Shyamalan's new movie, Knock at the Cabin. Now, this is a director. Even though I haven't seen all of his films, if he brings a new one out, I'm going to go and see it, because he's just gives you something different all the time. And I really appreciate that about this filmmaker. He doesn't follow the mainstream style. He always tries to go in different directions with his movies. And a lot of people weren't fans of old, but to me, I was appreciating I was watching something a little bit different there. And it was the same with Knock at the Cabin. Now, this is a very strange film. It's about, this couple and their adopted daughter who basically are in this cabin, and they get a knock by Bautista's character and his three friends on the cabin that they're staying in, and they say they're going to have to make a terrible choice where one of them is going to have to be sacrificed to save the world. And the family just don't believe a word he's saying, and Dave Bautista and his three friends are adamant that this has to happen. And he's not overly violent with them or anything like that. He's trying to really convince them throughout the movie. And as a viewer, you're kind of switching sides yourself. You don't know whether to believe Dave Bautista, or you just think he's an absolute crackpot and you're on the side of the family. Really reminded me of the film Frailty, if you've seen that, where you don't know which side to take in that film. And I thought Dave Bautista put in a really, really good performance in this movie. It was probably his best performance besides Drax, who I love. But as a more serious actor in the performances he's done, I think this might have been his best. Good to see Rupert Grint in there as a little bit of a more villainous character as well. I do think he suits the role. I would like to see him do more of that in future. And I walked out the cinema after this and thinking that was a good 7 out of 10 movie. And I did actually move it up a little bit to an 8 out of 10 because I couldn't stop thinking about the film afterwards. It really did make me, just appreciate what I'd watched over the weekend that I went to see it. And for me, it's film of the year up to now. I know we're very early into 2023, but I do have it number 1 ranked on my Letterboxd there. So I do recommend this film. It's not Shyamalan's best or anything. It's just more towards the middle upper tier of his films. But for me, it worked. I really enjoyed it. If you want to see my full review on that, it will be in the description down below. But that is Knock at the Cabin. Next up on 4K, I watched Red Heat. Now, I did say at the start of the year that I'm going to try and watch every single Arnold Schwarzenegger movie that I have not seen. And this was one of them. And yeah, I've been buying some Schwarzenegger movies this month on Blu-ray and stuff. Been watching a few that I will talk about again in this video very shortly. But this, for me, was one that I was really anticipating because I thought it was a buddy cop movie that's right up my street. It looks a lot of fun. And people had told me that it was really good. However, I did not connect with this movie hardly at all. I just really didn't see the appeal. Now, I would like to rewatch this because I think I was going to have more fun with it going in than I did. But maybe that was me expecting a little bit too much. However, the chemistry between Schwarzenegger and Belushi wasn't as great as everyone was telling me it was going to be. Schwarzenegger in this was playing this Russian guy, and it just wasn't really a character that I think he was very good at. He was okay, but it's not the typical Schwarzenegger that I loved. It had a very simple story. Yeah, I mean, it just didn't connect for me. And I know a lot of people do like this film, but for me, it just wasn't all that, unfortunately. But I will give it another go at some point, especially because I've got this lovely 4K here. But definitely need a rewatch on that one. But for now, just really didn't do it for me. That is Red Heat. Next up is going to be my new release of the month, even though it's a 2022 movie. And like The Fablemans, we got it late here in the UK. And that is The Whale, starring Brendan Fraser, directed by Darren Aronofsky, who made Black Swan, of course. But just behind Black Swan, I think this might be his best film. I really, really enjoyed this. This is about an obese man who basically he's got an addiction. He can't stop eating food and stuff. He does it as comfort. He does it as other excuses. But basically, it's a mixture of mental health and addiction. And I think the film really portrayed that so well, because when these two are mixed together, it just becomes an absolute ticking time bomb. And that's what it shows in Brendan Fraser's character here. But he knows he's not the greatest person in the world anyway. And he's trying to reconnect with his daughter, who really is an asshole in this movie. So, is it Sadie Sink who plays her? If I've got that wrong, the name will be down below. Sometimes my names just escape me on these videos. But she was really great in this. Even though she's such an unlikable character, I think she plays this character very well. She's a little bit like this in Stranger Things at the start, isn't she? Where she just doesn't want to know anyone and she's just fobbing everyone off. I think she plays that character well, but she is definitely the most vilest character I've seen her play in this movie, that's for sure. And you kind of hate her, but you just see Brendan Fraser sees something in her that even us as viewers can't see. However, it's a very, very emotional story that unfolds in front of our eyes. I was connected from start to finish. I invested myself in the movie so much, and I couldn't take my eyes off it. I absolutely loved this film. I thought it was great. Seen a lot of hate for it, that's fair enough, but for me, it totally worked. So that is my new release of the month, The Whale. Next up, I decided to watch one of my Batman animated movies, and that is Batman Bad Blood. I've picked a few of these up on the cheap. Every time I'm out in the wild, if I don't own it and it's here cheap, I will pick it up. Because these are just very easy to watch. 70-minute animated films, aren't they? And they're usually really fun. And this was no exception. I enjoyed this one. I've got a load of these to watch, so I want to start maybe watching one or two a month now. But this was one that didn't really feature Batman too much, surprisingly. This is basically about him going missing, and he's feared dead and stuff, and Batgirl and Robin, Nightwing and stuff, they want to find him and get to the bottom of what's happened to him. So it's mainly about them teaming up, but there's a few family ties to Batman, in the story there that are unraveled and stuff. Again, cool animation, great voice acting, across the board, basically. Cool villains in this one. It is what it is. It's just a Batman fun animated 7 out of 10 movie, like a lot of these are. So glad to have that one in the collection. I had a lot of fun with it. That's Batman Bad Blood. Next up was a film that really, really disappointed me, and that is Tar. I know this is up for Best Picture, and a lot of people have given this movie so much praise, and the only real thing I can praise about it was Cate Blanchett's performance. I thought she was excellent in this movie, and she kept me going till the end, basically. I just thought this film was really, really boring. Honestly, I just could not escape the fact that I was bored throughout the entire runtime of this movie. I wanted to love it. I went to cinema on my own to watch this so I could get fully invested, and I was excited to watch it because I'd heard so much great stuff. But it was kind of just not my thing, basically. She's a bit of an asshole as a character in this, and it's about doing this, big orchestra that she's got coming up, and the drama in her life surrounding it, leading up to that. And she's like this world-renowned, I forgot the name of it, but the person who does that bloody thing. I forgot the name. I'm really sorry, but composer, is it? Maybe. She's like one of the best in the world. She's renowned and stuff, but she's got a lot of struggles going on in life, basically, with a relationship and stuff. But for me, I didn't really. Her acting was amazing. Her acting was brilliant. She may even deserve Best Actress, this month coming at the Oscars. But I really didn't like her character too much. I'm not going to lie about that. And the whole story for me was just, yeah. I mean, if you're not into this classical music and stuff, you may struggle with some of the dialogue here, because it's kind of like when you see them submarine movies or something, and they're talking about all the stuff to do with submarines, and you've got no idea what they're talking about. And it was kind of like this with the classical music side of things, if that makes sense. So yeah, for me, it just didn't work, unfortunately. That is Tar. Next up, we're going to have my older pick of the month, and I told you there was some more Arnold Schwarzenegger movies coming, and that is True Lies, a first-time watch for me. I cannot believe I have never seen this film, and this is a film that everyone said I would love. I didn't hear a bad thing about it, and my God, did it exceed my expectations. I tried to lower them a bit, because so many people have told me that they love this film, but I absolutely adored this movie from James Cameron. Absolutely amazing film. Now, this is basically about Arnold. The whole movie is based around people lying, basically. So Arnold Schwarzenegger is the secret agent, and his wife thinks that he works in like this office job. So he's got to keep it secret from her. And Jamie Lee Curtis, who plays his wife, she's kind of bored in the relationship, and she wants some action and some entertainment in life. And Harry's never around, Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, and she decides to meet up with this guy with no intention of really having an affair or anything. But this guy is a con man, and he's pretending that he needs her for a secret mission of his own, basically. And that's when Arnold Schwarzenegger's character starts to become, paranoid that his wife's going to have an affair with this Bill Paxton's character. And it's all interweaving about people not trusting people lying to each other. And she ends up getting mixed up in this mission that Arnold Schwarzenegger is involved in with these terrorists, basically. So it's a little bit of a complicated plot, but it's very simply put on screen. You will not get lost in this film. It just contains some amazing action scenes, some hilarious moments. It's like a black comedy, really. The comedy lands every time, especially in the later half of the film. I really loved it where these villains were on a bridge at one point, and the bridge had broken in half, and the car was basically, stops at the end of the bridge and tilts a little bit, and they find the balance, basically, and they're so happy that they haven't fell into the sea. And then this seagull just comes and lands on the bonnet of the car, and they go, ah, and the car just goes. Things like that just really make the movie work. Definitely got one of the best villain deaths ever in this movie towards the end. Absolutely amazing. If you've seen the film, you'll know what I mean with the helicopter. I absolutely love this film. One of my favourite Schwarzenegger movies now. James Cameron, please give us this damn thing on 4K. I need this movie in my collection. We all want it. What the hell are you waiting for? James Cameron movies on physical media are just an enigma, aren't they? But that is my older release of the month, True Lies. Next up is a film I've wanted to see for a very long time. And then I seen Lisa Loves. If you're watching, Lisa, hello. She talked about this in one of her latest videos, and it reminded me that I wanted to watch this film. And that is The Founder, starring Michael Keaton. And this is basically about how McDonald's came about and this chain of restaurants. So Michael Keaton is looking to get into the food industry with some of his inventions and stuff. And he comes across this restaurant called McDonald's, basically. And this is at the time where it's just ran by these two brothers. And he can't believe how quick the service is. Like, he gets his burger straight away, and he can't believe it. He doesn't think it's possible. He's convinced that his order is wrong, and he's been given someone else's order. Goes over, eats the burger, he thinks it's the best burger he's ever had in his life, and he wants some of the action. So he tries to worm his way in with these two brothers into this McDonald's and make it this big franchise that it is today. A true story. And it really did remind me of The Social Network. I mean, that's the best comparison I can give, even though it's two totally different industries. That's how the movie it reminded me of that film, basically. Not as good as that, but still a very, very solid movie. Michael Keaton is a great actor. I absolutely love him. I can watch anything with him in, I think, and this is no exception. A really, really great film that, if you want a good true story, and you can just follow the plot unraveling, and it's a fascinating tale, basically. Definitely give The Founder a go. Everyone knows McDonald's. I don't think there's one person watching this video who doesn't know what McDonald's is there? So if you want to see how that became about, definitely give The Founder a go. So yeah, really, really great movie. Next up, I watched Dark Water from Arrow Video. I seen this really cheap in CX, and I just thought, you know what? I've heard of this film, I'm going to grab it, and you know what, I enjoyed it. This is about a woman and her daughter who move into this apartment, and it's not the best looking apartment in the world. You can tell there's something not right about it, and they've got like a leak in their ceiling, and she's trying to get it sorted and stuff, and the water dampness is getting bigger and bigger, and something else is going on here. Now, I can't say too much more than that because the plot has got a little bit of unraveling to do after the first 30 minutes, and there's a little bit of a interpreted ending. Like, you've got to make your own interpretation of it with a little bit of a twist and stuff like that. So I can't say too much more than that, but I did think it was a good little story, creepy in places, and one that I do recommend. So if you're into the Asian horror, scene, definitely give Dark Water a go. I enjoyed it. It wasn't bad at all. Next up is another film that I'd heard a lot of great things about, and it didn't disappoint, and that is Fighting With My Family, a WWE film. I think this is their first feature film about the wrestler Paige. I'd only just watched this a week or two ago. I should have remembered that. But she's played by Florence Pugh, and she comes from a family who just love wrestling. They own their little wrestling industry around the town of Norwich, and they live and breathe wrestling basically. And it's about her and her brother who entered the WWE to try and become a WWE wrestler. And it's about her journey to becoming a superstar, basically. Now, I thought this film was fantastic. I really loved the family dynamic that these lot had. They were very close knit. Some great characters in here. You got Lena Headey, Nick Frost as the mother and father there. Florence Pugh's brother. I can't remember the guy who played him. Jack Lowden, is it? He was really good as well. And Florence Pugh is just excellent in everything, isn't she? Some really funny moments at times, but it's a really good drama as well. And Vince Vaughn is this guy who decides if you're going to get in the WWE or not, and he sort of makes people into famous superstars. And he was in a much more serious role in this film, but I thought he was fantastic. I love Vince Vaughn, mainly for his comedy, but in this serious role, I thought he was really, really good. And it's just a great journey to go on with this character of Florence Pugh. True story again, like The Founder. If you're into your true story movies, definitely give this one a go. I really, really enjoyed it. So that is Fighting with My Family. Next up is a film I can't comment too much on because I had a really bad time at the cinema with this, and that is Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. Now, when I say a bad time, I don't mean the movie, but usually Odeon cinemas don't play the film until about 25 minutes after its scheduled time, unless it's a limitless screening, which is usually about 10 minutes. I walked in about 15 to 20 minutes after the original time this was meant to start, because that wasn't intentional. It's just my little son was having a bad, we were late putting him to bed or something like that, and he was crying and stuff. So I got there a little bit late, but I thought I'll still make it on time. And I think it was about 5 or 10 minutes into the film. I think they played it early for once here, and I don't know how much at the start of the film I missed, but I felt like a little bit of a chunk. And then I was so tired. Like, when you have a kid, you're just constantly tired all the time. And I fell asleep for like 5 minutes in the middle of the film. So I can't really give this a fair assessment. I'm going to have to watch it again. Overall, what I did see, I liked it. I didn't love it. Marcel, the voice acting was brilliant. He was really a great voice actor here, and he was charming. I really laughed at some of the moments with him. But I didn't realise it was like live action mixed with animation and kind of found footage at the same time, because he's becoming a YouTube sensation. I have to watch it again because I know a lot of people love this film, but for me, I can't give it a full fair assessment. I was even in two minds about including it in this video, but I did give it like a 3 out of 5 on Letterboxd, but that might move up on rewatch. But overall, from what I've seen, I had an okay time with it. That is Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. Next up, we have the latest Marvel film and the beginning of Phase 5, Ant-Man, the Wasp, and Quantumania. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. The third film in the Ant-Man little trilogy there. I had a lot of hate going into this one, like usual. Every time a Marvel movie is released, we have to have a little bit of hate out there, don't we? But again, I just had a good time with it, like I do with virtually every other MCU film. There's only 2 that I really don't like out of nearly 30 movie franchise now. That is some going. And I know it's easy to hate on this franchise because it's so popular and stuff. And if you don't like it, that's fair enough. But I genuinely believe that there's people out there who hate on it more than they love it, really. I think they hate on it a little bit too much just to be in the conversation, really, because there's no way these movies are as bad as people say. They just aren't, all right? It's a big ask to make all these amazing films after Endgame. Like, you can't just get that level every single time. And a lot of people were disappointed with the phase before this, and I looked at all the films the other day and it said rank these movies, and I enjoyed every single one of them. So this was no exception. I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, it's a little bit CGI heavy, this one, and the effects are a little bit overbearing. There's a little bit too much there. It's probably the most CGI heavy movie of the Ant-Man universe, the Marvel universe, but it's still a very enjoyable film. MODOK, who to me it was meant to intentionally look silly, was a great character in this. I loved him. He was so funny, and Jonathan Majors as Kang is going to be a very, very strong villain for this franchise, I believe. So, yeah, he was the best part of the movie for sure. A good Marvel movie. Definitely not the best. Definitely not the worst. So that is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Again, like Knock in the Cabin. If you want to see my full thoughts on that, it'll be in the review description down below. Next up, we have another Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, The Running Man, a first time watch for me. I told you I was going to do all these Arnold Schwarzenegger movies this year, and maybe I'll do a full ranking at the end of the year when I've watched them all. And Stephen King movie, believe it or not. But yeah, first time watch for me. I absolutely love this film. I thought it was great. This is basically about Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is wanted for being a criminal, basically, and he is allowed to appear on The Running Man, which is a TV show. And if he escapes and isn't killed, he will have his sentence cut forever, and he can go and do whatever he wants with his life. But the catch is that these people will come after you and try and kill you on this show. And it's like the most watched show in the future, and everyone loves it and stuff. And it's run by this guy who's a presenter. I can't remember his name. I'm really sorry. I can't remember the guy's name, but he's one of the most vilest characters I've ever seen in movie history. I hated him. I just wanted Arnold Schwarzenegger to kill his ass. Some really fun dialogue in this movie. Typical Arnold Schwarzenegger. I absolutely loved it. It was such a great time. Now, as good as this movie is, I actually do think that this is a film that could maybe benefit from a remake, because it's just such a good concept that totally works. But I'm definitely fine with this version. An excellent film, and I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. That is The Running Man. Next up is a film that was sent to me in some subscriber mail a while ago, and I finally got round to it, Tom. I will get to the other films you sent me very soon, mate, I promise, and that is Goon. This is a ice hockey movie starring Sean William Scott, and in ice hockey, believe it or not, you're just allowed to fucking beat people up, and I think you're called the Goon if you're that person. And Sean William Scott isn't the greatest ice hockey player, but this team needs him to just kick people's asses, basically. That's basically what he does. He isn't the brightest spark in life, and that's all he kind of knows, because he's been a doorman and stuff, and he only knows how to fight, basically. He doesn't really have much education, and this ice hockey team, is an opportunity for him to basically get in a big ice hockey league and stuff. But as time goes on, you kind of know where the movie's going, really, about him getting better at hockey and stuff like that. There was a relationship in this with Sean William Scott's character and this other female character who, it was just a little bit off for me. I couldn't buy into it at all. But I did have a good time with this film. It was a very strange comedy. Like, it was funny in places and very serious in other places. But I did have a good time with this. So, Tom, thanks for sending me that, mate. That is good. Next up is Cocaine Bear. I was meant to do a full review for this on the channel, but I was really sick this week. I wrote my script out and everything to read out and on film and record, and I just haven't got around to it. I was just very ill this week. I was off work, and I just didn't have the energy to do it. I still might do the video. I don't know yet. But it's all written out. It'd be a shame to waste it. So maybe if that video comes, it'll be in the next day or two. But this is a film I was really anticipating. It sounded like a lot of fun, and it's based on a true story, believe it or not, about this bear who, where he lives, basically in this forest, a lot of cocaine is dropped from this airplane, and it's a little bit of a mess up. Because these gangsters are trying to recover it, and this bear has ate it all, basically, and it just goes on this absolute fucking murderous rampage and just starts taking motherfuckers out left, right, and centre. But it is also a very funny film. There's a lot of comedy in this movie. I really did, I had a good time with this film. Elizabeth Banks, who weirdly directed this, I wouldn't have seen that coming. She really did do some great shots and stuff in this film. There's a moment where someone is shot in the head, and the way she filmed it wouldn't have been as effective if it was just simple shot, but she really made that work, and all the cinema was just laughing their ass off when it happened. I know that's not meant to be funny, but the way she done it, it really was. Some of the characters in this, though, were a little bit off. They were just kind of throwaway. You didn't really get invested in many of them. There's a lot of characters as well. There's like lots of different paths that they're taking that are leading to the bear and stuff. There's some very creative kills in this. The bear was CGI'd, but it never really bothered me because there's no way you can do this film without a CGI bear with some of the shit that it's doing. It actually has a line of cocaine in one part of the movie. So there you go. But you could the cinema I was in were just having a great time with this. Everyone was laughing, and sometimes them experiences are great, aren't they? So that is Cocaine Bear, a fun movie from 2023. Next up, I watched the 4K of John Wick. Now we do have John Wick 4 coming out this month, and this is the only John Wick movie I had seen, and I just wanted to rewatch it because I'm going to watch John Wick 2 and 3 leading up to 4 this month, just to refresh my memory. And I had a much better time with this second time round. I liked it the first time anyway, but it just had a little bit more for me this time. I love the cinematography in this film. Like, the sort of greenish, greyish filter that it has on it really does work for me. Keanu Reeves is just a kick-ass character in this movie. If you haven't seen it, it's basically about these gangsters who kill his dog and rob his house, and he wants to get back at them, and he comes out of retirement because he used to be a hitman and goes after these bastards. But one of the gangsters has a father who kind of runs the town. He's the biggest gangster in town and stuff. Kick-ass action in this, great martial arts moments, real good bloody moments, good characters and stuff. There's a little bit of a hotel for assassins in this, which is a really cool twist. Really, really good film. I'm really looking forward to John Wick 2, 3 and 4 now after watching this. But yeah, I'm weirdly one of them people who's never seen all of these films. I know everyone else has but me, but yeah, John Wick, excellent movie. And the last film I watched this month was Rocky 3. Now, this is the box set, but I just wanted to rewatch Rocky 3 because, like I said, I was very, very sick this week, and I just wanted something easy to watch that I didn't have to think about. And with Creed 3 coming out, I just felt like watching a Rocky movie, and Rocky 3 is my go-to Rocky film. It's one of my most rewatched films of all time because I just love Clubber Lang. And I had a great time with it once again. I haven't seen it for a couple of years, but yeah, it just hits as good as it always does. Typical 80s movie with all the music and the montage scenes and stuff. But what I really like about Rocky 3 is it's about conquering your fear. Rocky, for the first time in his life, is afraid. He's lost a fight against Clubber Lang, and he's terrified of this guy because he's more powerful than him and stuff. And then Apollo Creed comes along and turns him into this different fighter. And his wife has words with him and stuff, and they give him the confidence to fight back his fear, basically. And I love the way the movie plays on that. So Rocky 3, really, really great film. Clubber Lang, my favourite Rocky villain. So yeah, that is Rocky 3. Okay guys, I hope you all enjoyed this video. What did you think of these watches this month? Is there anything you liked here, anything you didn't like? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll try and get back to you all, I promise. Don't forget to check out the movie reviews of Knock in the Cabin and Ant-Man if you're interested. Thanks so much guys, take it all easy, and I'll see you on the next video.